Alright, guys, I promise never to make another video today, but I just had to talk about this because, and guys, why should I not talk about this? Because it just has to happen. This isn't a podcast, but it just makes me realize how boxing has changed for all the wrong reasons. And even though the title of this video might be hateful, and guys, I don't want to hate on black people or or UK blacks, British, or anyone else, because at the end of the day, and I'm not trying to assume it or even Samoan to everyone else, from Samoans to Asians, because at the end of the day, these things do happen at times, and we all have to learn from people, because there's a lot of people out there that try their best to get away with this type of stuff, because we don't know the truth about what's fact and what's fiction. We don't know everything about what's happening in the real world. And that comes to the conclusion when it comes to Daniel Dubois and Joseph Parker. Now, guys, I did make a video not long ago, about some days ago, about Shakur Stevenson, where on February the 22nd, Shakur Stevenson, 22-0, was supposed to take on undefeated Floyd Schofield. Now, of course, Shakur was supposed to take on Joe Cordina in October the 12th, a few months ago, but that fight, as I did say in that last video, that fight was canceled because Stevenson had a broken hand. But in this fight, Floyd Schofield was the one that had to be dropped out of the fight because he had to fell ill during the fight week. So he was gone because of that, which meant Josh Padley, the guy that I have talked about before, but at this moment, guys, I did actually say to myself that Josh Padley might bring out an upset victory, but after watching the footage again about him and his Mark Chamberlain fight and how many times he clinched, so many times in that fight, but he still managed to put in a knockdown and had his opponent doing a 1 point abduction, even though he did deserve that win considering the fight was even. But yet again, it was really boring. Like, there were times that there's some moments there, but it didn't mean that Josh Padley had what it takes. But yet again, if he can give Shakur Stevenson a hard time just like he did to Mark Chamberlain, maybe it might be an entertaining fight depending on how long the fight is. I do expect it to go 12 rounds of decision, and maybe it might be a controversial win, and for Josh. And I am expecting it because this is only a few days' notice, and then ever since YouTuber SMB Boxing made his top 10 video, the top 10 fighters noticed, last noted days noticed, where a fighter comes in to take someone's place and then he won the fight, just like Andy Ruiz, or how Manny Pacquiao won his fight first time in the US a couple decades ago. So I thought Josh Padley had it, but this right here is no exception to me. I do have a feeling if Josh Padley takes this win, I do have a feeling we're going to have another upset, because Joseph Parker, the guy that was supposed to take on Daniel Dubois on February the 22nd, the same event, is canceled because Dubois also withdrew from fight week due to illness. Now, we don't know if Saudi Arabia has problems with the air or the environment. We don't know if that's the case. But for some reason, we don't know. All we know is Dubois keeps his belt, and that's all that mattered. What a bummed... What a bummer. And I just hope to God we just don't see a rematch with him and Usyk. It's ridiculous. So what is Joseph Parker taking on today? He's going to fight against Martin Bakal. And Martin Bakal, this big, large 300-pound dude from the Republic Democratic of Congo, which, even though he's over 280 so pounds, and he is on Topology a plus 135 slight underdog with a minus 175 favorite to Parker. But because I do think that... Now, don't get me wrong, guys. I could see Joseph Parker maybe winning this fight, but he has to be careful, because whatever happened the last time when Jared Anderson stepped into the ring with Martin Bakal, and how he got his butt beat so bad in that April the 3rd show, and how Jared Anderson was in Runningville, like he had no, for some reason, Joseph Parker has to watch it, because This is for the WBO interim world heavyweight title. So technically, instead of fighting for the IBF title, they're still going to make it a title match, but it's going to be the same thing than Agit Kabayel and Zhilei Zhang for the WBC interim heavyweight. Same thing. If Martin Bakal defeats Joseph Parker, I don't think they're still going to make a fight with him or Alexander Usyk. I don't even think Joseph Parker even has what it takes for people to give him a chance to fight with Alexander Usyk. We don't know. All we know is that Usyk is 38 years old. Next year, on January next year, he'll be 39. And that is the most important thing. I always think to myself is the age difference will take the gap away. So we do have to be on high alert when that moment comes, because we don't know when Usyk will come back to the ring. But at the end of the day, Martin Bakal on day's notice does have to understand, because guys, the heaviest Martin Bakal ever became in his entire career is being 299.5 pounds when he defeated Carlos Takam last October of 2023 in Saudi Arabia. And not in the Kingdom Arena, in Boulevard Hall, which is a different venue. But either way, 299 pounds is ridiculous. And then he goes to 284.5 when he fought against Jared Anderson. So my point is, even though Joseph Parker, this big dude, that he was 247 pounds last March when he took on Zhilei Zhang, and Zhilei Zhang is 291, and good luck with him and Kabayel. But my point is, he's now 267. So if the weight difference does become a factor, we might see a couple great upset moments in this entire show. If Martin Bakal and Josh Padley win their fights against Shakur Stevenson and Joseph Parker, do you know what that's going to make? That's going to be history in the makings. That right there, I could tell you, viewers, is going to make great history for all of the world to see. But yet again, I know a lot of us might think to ourselves, what about Agit Kabayel and Zhilei Zhang? Is that going to be something to look forward to? Well, when you look at it from a perspective, because as of right now, he's 287 and Agit Kabayel is 241, we do have to be careful, because even though after Phil Pergovich defeated Zhang a couple and a half years ago, he already had a good couple fights in 2023 with Joyce. But then with his Joseph Parker loss, considering he did put in a good effort early in the fights and almost might have won the fight, in my opinion, or if he would have drawn the fight, and then his win against Deontay Wilder got effective. But at the end of the day, I do look at Agit Kabayel, a guy that barely almost messed up a couple years ago when he barely won a fight against Adgron Smatsiki for the EBU European heavyweight title in March of 2023. And some people thought that Arslan Makhmudov was going to destroy him, but he underestimated Agit Kabayel, and even Frank Sanchez did as well. But he's still a young guy. He's 32 years old. He's been 13 years in pro. This is his 14th year since 2011 to 2025. So I do see he could still have another good decade left into him until 2030 or even 2031 for that matter. So we do have to be careful to know that Zhilei Zhang has nothing to lose for. He's lost a couple fights by close decision, even though they think he won those fights. And even though I did think he did win against Phil Pergovich and almost might have got a draw in Joseph Parker. So that doesn't make him a losing type victory here. So I do think to myself there will be something going on in the future, while something might come into an upset victory here. So you got to look at from my perspective of what we're looking at here, because there's enough of us that can think anything can go wrong. And things can go wrong with anything else, just like the WBC World Middleweight with Carlos Adams and Hamza Shiraz. It might not be a good fight, or even Virgil Ortiz and Israel Madrimov. We don't know what fights are going to be good and what are going to be great. All we know is we have a bunch of titles that are interim titles, and more of them are going to be more crazy by the minute. So, but at the end of the day, guys, I'm still interested to see if Artur Beterbiev can become one of the first few heavyweights to successfully defend light heavyweight titles 10 times because this is his 10th title defense if he defeats Dimitri Bivol. Shakur Stevenson still has a chance to win an easy fight with Josh Padley, but you can't underestimate him. Just in case if he keeps clinching in those fights with Shakur, he might give him a hard time. So I am expecting that while time goes on. So that's all I have to say for this video, but I hope you viewers let me know in the comments what you think is going to happen. And with that being said, Foxwolf says, see you next time.